The council chamber aboard the Vornak flagship Annihilator was designed to intimidate. Dark metal walls curved inward like the ribcage of a massive beast. At the center, a holographic display showed the blue-green sphere of Earth, rotating slowly against the black tapestry of space. Commander Thraxac studied the image with his 4 primary optical sensors, his secondary sensory tendrils twitching with anticipation. 2,000 warships hung in formation behind him, the largest fleet ever assembled by the Vornak Empire. They had conquered 12 galaxies, subjugated 400 species, and never, not once, had a civilization refused their terms. The human transmission came through on all frequencies. Thraxac had expected fear, trembling voices, pleas for mercy. Instead, a single image appeared on his display, a human face weathered and scarred, with eyes that held no fear at all. "State your intentions," Thraxac demanded, his voice processing through the universal translator. "Your species has been given the standard terms: unconditional surrender. All military assets will be decommissioned. Your worlds will be administered by Vornak governors. Compliance will ensure your survival." The human on the screen was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his words would echo through Vornak history for generations. "We've received your terms, Commander. We've discussed them extensively, and we have a counter-proposal." Thraxac's sensory tendrils went rigid. "There is no counter-proposal. There is only acceptance or—" "We accept," the human said, cutting him off. "We accept your terms. We surrender." Thraxac paused. His tactical AI flagged this response as anomalous. The Empire's invasion protocols had prepared for resistance, even desperate resistance, but immediate, unconditional surrender, that was a new data point. "Explain your acceptance," Thraxac demanded. "Why would you surrender without engaging?" The human smiled. It was not a smile of relief or submission. It was the smile of someone who knew something you didn't. Thraxac's sensory tendrils recognized that expression. He had worn it himself during interrogations of captured species. "Let me ask you a question, Commander," the human said. "Your empire has conquered 400 species. How many of them surrendered without a fight?" Thraxac consulted his database. 2, both agricultural civilizations with no standing military. "And how many of them fought?" 398. The human nodded. "So you're saying that about 99% of species, when faced with annihilation, choose to resist, even knowing they're outmatched, even knowing they'll lose, they resist anyway." Thraxac's secondary eyes narrowed. "This is basic survival instinct, even prey animals." "We're not prey," the human interrupted. The smile vanished. "That's what you don't understand. We've been prey before. 6 times in our history we were pushed to the edge of extinction. Plague, ice, war. We kept fighting. We survived. And now you've come here thinking you're the apex of galactic power, thinking we'll just roll over because your ships are bigger and your weapons are stronger." The human leaned closer to the camera. "We accept your surrender terms, but not because we're afraid. We accept them because we're going to use them." The transmission ended. Thraxac stared at the blank screen. His tactical AI was running calculations, analyzing the human's words for deception, for hidden meanings. It found nothing definitive. "Commander," his adjutant said, a Vornak warrior with scarred battle plates, "the fleet is ready. Shall we commence orbital bombardment?" Thraxac turned back to the holographic Earth. Something was wrong, something he couldn't identify. The planet's orbital defense network was visible now: primitive satellites, outdated weapon platforms, nothing that could threaten his fleet. The human military was laughably small by galactic standards. Their ships were slow and undergunned. And yet— "Hold position," Thraxac ordered. "Run a full spectral analysis of Earth's surface. I want to know everything about this species, their industrial output, their resource extraction, their population distribution, everything." The analysis took 47 minutes. When it was complete, Thraxac read the report 3 times. The humans had built underground facilities across their entire planet, massive networks of tunnels and bunkers. Their colonies on Mars and the Jovian moons showed similar patterns. The population was distributed in ways that maximized defensive positions. Industrial centers were duplicated across multiple locations. Food production was decentralized. None of this was unusual for a species preparing for invasion, but there was something else. A pattern in the data that his AI couldn't quite identify. Something about the way the humans had positioned their defensive assets. It was almost as if they had anticipated the exact formation his fleet would use. Thraxac dismissed the thought. The Vornek fleet formation was classified. No outsider could have. "Commander," his adjutant interrupted again. "We're receiving multiple transmissions from the human surface. They appear to be entertainment broadcasts." Thraxac gestured impatiently. "Show me." The screen filled with images of human celebrations, parades, fireworks, crowds cheering in streets across dozens of cities, banners with symbols Thraxac didn't recognize, but he could read the emotion on human faces. They were celebrating. A species facing invasion by the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. A species with no hope of victory. A species that had just surrendered. And they were celebrating. "Cease analysis," Thraxac ordered. "Launch the assault. Begin with orbital defense platforms. Target their primary population centers. Show them the cost of defiance." He watched as his fleet moved into formation. The sleek, black warships of the Vornek Empire, each one carrying enough firepower to sterilize a continent. The human defense network looked pitiful in comparison. Small platforms with outdated weapons, fragile structures that would crumble under the first volley. But as his ships closed to weapons range, Thraxac's sensory tendrils twitched again. Something was moving, something he hadn't seen before. The human defense platforms were shifting position. No, not shifting, they were aligning themselves. Thraxac's tactical AI erupted with warnings. The alignment pattern was familiar. It matched exactly what the humans would need if they wanted to. "Commander," his adjutant shouted, "the platforms are." The first explosion lit up the void of space. Then another. Then a cascade of detonations that turned the orbital defense network into a field of debris. But it wasn't the Vornak fleet that had destroyed them. The humans had blown up their own platforms. And as Thraxac watched the debris spread, he finally understood the pattern. The fragments weren't random. They were forming a field, a barrier, a trap that his fleet was already flying into. "Evade," he roared. "All ships break formation now." But it was already too late. The debris field closed around his forward elements like jaws around prey, and the human ships that emerged from hiding were not slow. They were not outdated. They were not undergunned. They were coming for him. Commander Thraxac watched his forward battle group disintegrate in real time. The human ships moved with surgical precision, threading through the debris field that their own destroyed platforms had created. Each human vessel was smaller than his dreadnoughts, faster than his cruisers, and armed with weapons that his tactical AI couldn't identify. "What are they firing?" he demanded. "Kinetic projectiles, Commander," his adjutant reported, voice strained. "Accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. Our energy shields are not designed to stop physical projectiles. They're passing through the containment fields and..." Another Vornak ship exploded. Then another. The debris field was working exactly as the humans had calculated. 30% of his fleet was trapped in a killing zone, unable to maneuver, unable to escape. "Get me a complete tactical assessment," Thraxac ordered. "I want to know everything about these ships, their construction, their power sources, their..." "Commander, we're already running full analysis, but we're seeing something unusual." "Unusual how?" The adjutant brought up a holographic display. Human ships were highlighted in red, Vornak ships in blue. The engagement zone was a chaos of yellow warning markers. The human ships don't appear to have traditional energy weapons, the adjutant explained. Their primary armaments are kinetic rail launchers, missile systems, and directed explosive charges, but their defensive systems are what? Non-existent, Commander. They have no energy shields, no deflector screens, no active armor plating. Their ships are practically unarmored. One hit from our primary weapons should destroy them completely. Thraxak watched as a human ship took a direct hit from a Vornak plasma cannon. The ship didn't explode. It simply redirected. The hull opened in specific places, venting atmosphere and debris that acted as a counterforce. The ship spun, used the momentum of the impact to change direction, and came around for another attack run. These are not warships, Thraxak breathed. They've modified civilian craft, transport vessels, mining ships. They've strapped weapons to anything that could fly. That's correct, Commander. Our analysis shows that nearly 70% of their fleet is composed of converted civilian vessels. They've applied military-grade weapons systems to commercial hulls. Thraxak felt something he hadn't felt in centuries, a cold certainty that he had made a catastrophic miscalculation. "Pull our ships out of the kill zone," he ordered. "Fall back to secondary formation. I want orbital bombardment platforms at maximum range. We'll destroy their cities from a distance." "Commander, the debris field is expanding. Our forces in the kill zone are reporting significant casualties. We're losing ships faster than we can." "Do it," Thraxak snarled. "Now." The Vornak fleet began to withdraw. It was a difficult maneuver, extracting ships from the chaos of battle while human vessels kept pressing the attack. But Thraxak had commanded 1,000 battles. He knew when to retreat and when to press forward. This wasn't a retreat. This was a strategic repositioning. His bombardment platforms were still intact. 12 massive vessels designed to rain destruction from orbit. They could level cities, destroy military installations, devastate infrastructure. Even if the human fleet continued its assault, the bombardment platforms could reduce Earth's surface to ash. "Target population centers," Thraxak ordered. "Start with their largest cities. Show them the cost of resistance." The platforms deployed their firing mechanisms. Energy began to build. Targeting systems locked onto the coordinates of human cities below. And then everything went wrong. "Commander," his adjutant shouted, "we're losing the platforms. They're being destroyed from below." "Below? What do you mean below?" "Ground-based weapons, Commander. The humans have installed massive rail launchers on their surface. They're firing kinetic projectiles straight up through the atmosphere. The projectiles are accelerating to near-luminal speeds. Our platforms don't have time to." The nearest bombardment platform detonated. Then the next. The humans were firing from the surface, through their own atmosphere, targeting ships in orbit with weapons that shouldn't have been possible with their technology level. "How did they develop this capability?" Thraxak demanded. "This is not a primitive species. This is not a species that just achieved spaceflight. These weapons require centuries of technological evolution. They require—" "Commander, we're detecting multiple ground-based installations across the planet. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They're everywhere. Every continent. Every major landmass. The humans have built these weapons into their entire planetary surface." Thraxak's secondary eyes widened. He began to see the pattern now. The underground bunkers, the decentralized industrial centers, the population distribution that made no sense for a species preparing for invasion. Unless they weren't preparing for invasion at all. Unless they were preparing for something else entirely. "Replay the orbital scan," he ordered. "Focus on Earth's surface. I want to see everything." The holographic display shifted. Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, and beneath the surface, crisscrossing networks of tunnels and facilities that extended deep into the planet's crust. "This planet is a fortress," Thraxac breathed. "They've been building this for generations. They've turned their entire world into a single, integrated defensive structure. Every city is a citadel. Every mountain is a weapons platform. Every ocean is a hidden staging area. Commander, our forces are taking significant casualties. The human fleet is pressing their advantage. We're losing containment on the—" "Wait," Thraxac interrupted. "Show me the human fleet again, specifically their flag vessels." The display shifted. Human ships were clustered around a central formation. At the heart of the formation was a vessel that looked different from the others, larger, better armored, armed with weapons that Thraxac's sensors couldn't classify. "What is that ship?" he demanded. "Our analysis suggests it's a command vessel, Commander, but we're having trouble identifying its full capabilities. The energy readings we're getting are unusual." "Unusual how?" "Commander, the energy signature appears to be rotating. The readings are shifting frequency in a pattern that our AI cannot decode. It's almost as if the ship is generating a field of some kind, an active defensive system that we haven't encountered before." Thraxac stared at the image. The human command vessel was surrounded by a shimmer of energy that seemed to distort the space around it. The ship itself was angular, aggressive, with weapons ports that bristled from every surface. "Shield our fleet," he ordered. "Maximum defensive power. I want to see if they can." The human command vessel fired. It wasn't a kinetic projectile. It wasn't a missile. It was something else entirely. A beam of energy that lanced across the void of space, passing through Vornak energy shields like they weren't there, and struck the nearest dreadnought dead center. The dreadnought didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a vessel of war carrying 5,000 Vornak warriors. The next moment it was gone, replaced by a faint shimmer of particles expanding outward in all directions. Thraxac stared at the empty space where his dreadnought had been. His sensory tendrils went limp. His primary optical sensors struggled to process what they were seeing. "That's not possible," he whispered. "That's not human technology. They can't have." The human command vessel fired again. Another dreadnought vanished. And somewhere in the depths of Thraxac's strategic mind, a terrible understanding began to form. The humans had accepted his surrender terms. They had studied his fleet formation. They had positioned their defenses to maximize damage. They had converted civilian ships into warships. They had built ground-based weapons into their planetary surface. They had planned all of this. For generations, they had been planning all of this. And they had done it while making the Vornak Empire believe they were just another primitive species, just another civilization to be conquered, just another addition to the Empire's dominion. Thraxac had been wrong about humanity. He had dismissed them as prey. He had assumed their technology was outdated. He had assumed their military was primitive. He had assumed their surrender was genuine. But there was nothing genuine about humanity's surrender. It was tactical. It was strategic. It was a deception so deep and so thorough that even his AI, with all its analytical power, couldn't detect the truth. And now his fleet was dying. "Commander," his adjutant said, "we need to evacuate the system. Our fleet is too badly damaged to continue the campaign. We'll need months to repair, to regroup, to reinforce. We can't win this battle." Thraxac looked at the display, at the human command vessel that was destroying his dreadnoughts one by one, at the human fleet that was pressing the attack, at the human planet that had been turned into a fortress. "We need to send a message," he said slowly. "We need to call for reinforcements. The Empire has fleets across 12 galaxies. We can bring them here. We can overwhelm the humans with numbers." "Commander, Our long-range communications are being jammed. The humans are blocking our ability to send messages beyond the system. We can't retreat, Thraxax said. If we retreat, the Empire will see us as weak. The humans will be emboldened. The other species will rise up against us. We have to win this battle. Commander, there are only 600 ships remaining. The humans are still engaging with their full force. We can't win. We have to. Thraxax brought his primary arm down on the display, shattering the holographic image. The room went dark for a moment, illuminated only by the red warning lights of battle damage. "Signal all remaining ships," he said, his voice cold and hollow. "Prepare for a suicide run. We will destroy the human command vessel. We will buy time. We will allow the survivors to escape. To warn the Empire. To return with a fleet that can crush this planet forever. Commander, the honor of the Vornak comes second to the survival of the Empire," Thraxax snapped. "Do it." His adjutant hesitated for a moment, then acknowledged the order. The surviving Vornak ships began to shift formation, turning toward the human command vessel. But the humans had anticipated this too. As the Vornak fleet moved, the human vessels disengaged from their attacks and retreated. They pulled back, forming a defensive perimeter around their command vessel. They weren't fleeing. They were repositioning. And as Thraxax watched, the human's command vessel began to power up. Its energy signature spiked. The air around it shimmered with intensity. "Commander," his adjutant said, "the human vessel is targeting us specifically. It's locked on to our command frequency. They know where we are." Thraxax faced the display. The human command vessel was center screen now, its angular hull gleaming in the light of Earth's distant sun. He could see details now, markings on the hull, symbols he didn't recognize, and a single message written in the universal language that all spacefaring species used for first contact. "The humans have transmitted a message," his adjutant said. "It reads, 'We offered you surrender, you refused, now you'll face the consequences.'" Thraxax watched the human command vessel fire. He watched the beam of energy lance across the void. He watched it approach his ship, faster than any weapon he'd ever seen. And he watched himself die. The beam struck the Annihilator dead center, but instead of vanishing like the dreadnoughts before it, the vessel simply stopped. Its systems froze, its propulsion failed, its weapons went silent. Thraxax opened his eyes. He was still alive, still breathing, still processing. The human weapon hadn't destroyed his ship. It had disabled it. It had neutralized its combat capability without destroying the vessel or its crew. "We are being boarded," his adjutant reported. "Human soldiers are entering the hull. They're using breaching charges and—" "Let them," Thraxax ordered. "I want to see them. I want to see these creatures that have brought my fleet to its knees." Human soldiers poured through the breach. They moved with purpose, with discipline, with tactics that Thraxax AI identified as ancient and brutal. They used kinetic weapons that punched through Vornak energy shields. They used flash grenades that overloaded optical sensors. They used fire to suppress his warriors, fire that his troops had never encountered in battle. Thraxax watched his warriors fall. They were the best the Vornak Empire had to offer. They had conquered worlds. They had killed millions. They had never faced an enemy like this. The humans didn't fight fair. They didn't honor the traditions of warfare. They didn't give quarter or accept surrender. They moved through the corridors of his ship like predators, killing anything that moved, taking prisoners only when it served their tactical objectives. Within minutes, the bridge was breached. Thraxax stood in front of his command station, his primary eyes tracking the human soldiers as they entered. They were smaller than Vornak warriors, less armored, less imposing, but they moved with a confidence that made Thraxax's sensory tendrils curl with unease. A human officer stepped forward. He was scarred, weathered, with eyes that held no fear. He was the same human who had appeared on the transmission earlier, the same human who had smiled. "Your commander Thraxak," the human said, "leader of this fleet, conqueror of 12 galaxies, you've come a long way to die." "We are not dying," Thraxak said. "We are simply regrouping. The Empire will send reinforcements. You will be crushed. Your world will burn." The human smiled, that same smile full of secrets. "No, Commander, you're dying. Your fleet is dying. Your empire is dying. You just don't know it yet." The human gestured to a soldier who carried a portable display. The screen flickered to life, showing images of Vornak ships burning, Vornak warriors lying dead, Vornak worlds that had been attacked. "This is our fleet, Commander," the human said. "This is our army. We've been building it for generations. We've been waiting for you for generations. We knew you were coming. We knew how you would attack. We knew what you would do, and we prepared." Thraxak's secondary eyes widened. "That's impossible. You couldn't have known. The Empire's plans are classified. Our attack patterns are." "Not classified to us," the human interrupted. "We've been intercepting your communications for 300 years. We've been studying your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. We know everything about you, Commander, everything." The display showed more images. Vornak fleets in formation, Vornak weapons testing, Vornak political leaders in council, Vornak military doctrine summarized in detailed documents. "You call yourself a civilization," the human said, "but you're just a species that got lucky. You found technology left behind by older races. You reverse-engineered it without understanding it. You used it to conquer others without actually building anything original. You are parasites, and parasites are always exterminated." Thraxak felt his legs give way. He collapsed onto his command station, his primary eyes still fixed on the display. "You," he breathed, "you are the predators. You are the ones who—" "No," the human cut him off. "We're not predators, we're survivors. There's a difference. Predators kill for sport, survivors kill to live, and we've been surviving for 1,000,000 years. We've faced extinction 6 times. We've lost 99% of our population more than once. We've been reduced to a few thousand individuals and we rebuilt. We adapted. We evolved." The human stepped closer. "Do you know what that does to a species? Do you know what happens when you keep pushing a species to the edge of extinction? They stop caring about honor. They stop caring about tradition. They stop caring about rules. They become focused on one thing and one thing only." "What?" Thraxak whispered. The human leaned in close. "Winning, at any cost, by any means necessary, against any enemy. That's what we are, Commander. We are the species that just won't die, and that makes us the most dangerous species in this galaxy." The human stepped back and gestured to his soldiers. "Take him. We'll need him for the broadcast." Thraxak was dragged from the bridge of his own ship. As he was pulled through the corridors, he saw the carnage of his fleet, his warriors dead or dying, his ships burning or disabled, his empire's greatest conquest turned into humanity's greatest victory. They brought him to a small chamber on the human command vessel. It was bare, functional, with a single chair in the center. They strapped him to the chair and positioned a recording device in front of him. "What are you going to do?" Thraxak asked, his voice hollow. "We're going to send a message," the human officer said, "to the Empire, to all your conquered worlds, to every species in the galaxy. We're going to show them what happens when you demand humanity's surrender." The recording device activated. The human officer stepped in front of it. "This is Commander Michael Reyes of the Terran Defense Force. You are watching a recording of the Vornak fleet's defeat at Earth. You are watching their commander surrender. You are watching the end of the Vornak Empire's military superiority." Reyes gestured to Thraxak. "This is Commander Thraxak of the Vornak Empire. He came to our world with an armada of 2,000 ships. He demanded our unconditional surrender. He threatened annihilation. And now his fleet is burning. His warriors are dead. His empire is in chaos." Reyes stepped closer to the camera. We are humanity. We don't want to conquer you. We don't want to rule you. We don't want to destroy your civilization, but we will protect ourselves. We will do whatever it takes to survive. And if that means destroying your fleet, if that means burning your worlds, if that means ending your empire, we will do it. Without hesitation, without mercy, because we are survivors, and survivors don't play fair. Reyes paused. This is humanity's message to the galaxy. You have a choice. You can try to conquer us. You can try to destroy us. You can try to make us your subjects, and you will fail. Every time. Or you can leave us alone. You can respect our sovereignty. You can treat us as equals. You can find another world to conquer, another species to dominate, another empire to build. Reyes smiled. The choice is yours, but choose wisely. Because we're watching, we're always watching, and we don't forgive, we don't forget, and we never surrender. The recording ended. Reyes turned to Thraxak. We're going to broadcast this to every world in your empire, every species you've conquered, every enemy you've made. And then we're going to wait. Wait for them to rise up. Wait for them to destroy you from within. Wait for your empire to collapse into chaos. Reyes leaned close. You came to us, Commander. You threatened us. You demanded our surrender. Instead, we've given you the greatest gift a survivor can give an enemy. We've destroyed you, not with our weapons, with our truth, with our example, with our refusal to lose. Reyes turned and walked away. Thraxak sat in the chair, bound and beaten, and listened to the silence of his dying fleet. The galaxy will never be the same, he whispered. The Empire will never recover. You've changed everything. But the human officer was already gone, and the silence remained. The Vornek Empire didn't fall in a day. It didn't fall in a week. It fell over months of chaos, as humanity's broadcast spread across the galaxy like wildfire through dry grass. Conquered worlds rebelled, military units defected, political leaders fought for power. The Empire's enemies, long suppressed and terrorized, emerged from the shadows to claim their revenge. Alliances formed and fractured. Fleets clashed in systems that had been peaceful for centuries. And through it all, humanity watched, waiting, calculating, ready to strike at any empire that tried to fill the vacuum of power. Commander Thraxak had been returned to his home world as a prisoner of war. He was paraded through the streets of the capital city, his shame broadcast to every species in the empire. He was interrogated, tortured, forced to relive his defeat again and again. But he never broke, not because he was strong, because he had nothing left to break. His fleet was gone, his warriors were dead, his empire was in ruins, and the humans, the creatures he had dismissed as primitive and weak, had done it all. They had destroyed everything he had built, everything he had believed in, everything he had fought for. One morning, as he sat in his cell, a Vornek officer appeared at the door. "Commander Thraxak," the officer said, his voice tight, "you have a visitor, a human. They want to speak with you." Thraxak looked up. "Why? What do they want?" "I don't know, but they're here. They have authority from their government. We can't refuse them." The human who entered the cell was not the officer from the battle. This was a different human, older and more weathered, with gray hair and eyes that held the weight of centuries. "Commander Thraxak," the human said, "my name is Ambassador Henry Wallace. I've been sent here to discuss the future of your empire." "There is no future," Thraxak said. "You destroyed it, all of it. Everything we built, everything we achieved, you turned it to ash." Wallace nodded. "Yes, we did, and we can do worse. We can destroy your species entirely. We can burn your worlds. We can erase every trace of your existence from the galaxy. We have the resources, we have the technology, we have the will." Wallace paused, "But we don't want to." Thraxak stared at him. "What do you mean?" "We've come to offer you a choice," Wallace said. "You can continue to fight. You can try to rebuild your empire. You can return to your old ways, conquering and dominating and terrorizing the galaxy. And we will destroy you, completely, without mercy." Wallace stepped closer. Or you can change. You can give up your empire, you can free your conquered worlds. You can become something different, something better. Better, Thraxek laughed. There is no better, there is only power, strength, survival. You showed me that. You showed me what true power looks like. Why would you want us to change? Why would you want us to become weak? Because we don't want to fight, Wallace said. We don't want to conquer, we don't want to rule, we want to live. We want to explore, we want to learn, we want to build. We want to do all the things that species like yours have prevented us from doing for 3 centuries. Wallace pulled a chair out of thin air and sat down across from Thraxek. Your empire has been a cancer on the galaxy. It has crushed civilizations. It has enslaved species. It has destroyed worlds. And now that cancer is being excised. The question is what will replace it. Thraxek shook his head. You think you can create something new, something better? You're deluded. The galaxy is a place of violence and chaos. Only strength matters. Only power counts. Everything else is just hope. And hope is the most dangerous thing of all. Wallace smiled. That's why we're here, to show you that hope isn't dangerous, it's necessary. Without hope, species die. Without hope, civilizations crumble. Without hope, there's no reason to build, no reason to create, no reason to do anything except fight and survive. Wallace stood. We're going to give you a chance, Commander, a chance to help build something new, something that could be better than what you had before, a chance to redeem yourself, to be something more than a conqueror, to be a builder instead of a destroyer. Wallace turned toward the door. Think about it. Your empire is dying, your species is dying, but you can still save something. You can still build something. You can still make a difference. The choice is yours. The door closed behind him. Thraxek sat in his cell alone and thought about everything the human had said. He thought about his empire, his species, his fleet, his warriors. And he thought about hope, about what it meant, about what it could do. He had never believed in hope. He had never needed to. He had been powerful. He had been successful. He had been invincible. Now he was weak, defeated, destroyed. And for the first time in his life, he realized that hope was all he had left. It took 3 months for the empire to collapse. The conquered species rose up, armed with weapons and technology that humanity had provided. The military units defected, joining the rebellion against their former masters. The political leaders fought among themselves, each one trying to claim power and influence in the chaos. Humanity watched it all from a distance. They provided support. They provided guidance. They provided weapons and intelligence, but they never fought directly. They let the Empire's enemies do the fighting, waiting for the right moment to step in. Ambassador Wallace returned to Earth a hero. He was celebrated, honored, decorated, but he took no joy in it. He had seen the destruction. He had seen the chaos. He had seen the Empire collapse into anarchy. And he knew that humanity had done it. Not with ships, not with weapons, with information, with strategy, with a refusal to accept defeat. We've won, Wallace said to Commander Reyes, the soldier who had captured Thraxek. The Empire is gone. The conquered species are free. The galaxy is safe. But what comes next? We rebuild, Reyes said. We help them. We support them. We show them how to be better than what they were. Wallace nodded. That's what I told Thraxek, that's what I promised him, but I don't know if we can do it. I don't know if we can help them become something better. We're not perfect. We have our own problems, our own conflicts, our own failures. How can we help them when we can't even help ourselves? Ray smiled. Because we've been through it, we know what it's like. We know how hard it is. And we know that it's possible. That's the thing about humanity. We always think it's possible, even when it's not, even when it's impossible. We believe, we hope, we try. Wallace nodded. That's what I wanted to tell Thraxek. That hope is what makes us strong. Not power, not fear, not control, hope. Did he believe you? Reyes asked. Wallace shook his head. I don't know, I don't think so. He's been beaten too badly. He's lost too much. He's not ready to believe in anything right now. Reyes looked at Wallace for a long moment. Then we'll keep trying, we'll keep talking to him, we'll keep showing him that there's a better way. We'll keep giving him reasons to hope, even if he doesn't want to, even if he doesn't understand, we'll keep going. That's what I love about humanity, Wallace said. We never give up, we never stop trying, we never stop believing. And that's what makes us different from every other species in the galaxy. Reyes nodded. That's what makes us dangerous too. We don't know when to quit, we don't know when to give up. We just keep pushing forward no matter what. Let's hope that's enough, Wallace said. Let's hope that's enough to build something better. The two humans stood together looking out at the stars. The galaxy was in chaos. The Empire was in ruins. The future was uncertain, but they had hope. And for a species that had survived extinction 6 times, that was enough. Part 6. A year passed. The galaxy began to stabilize. New governments formed. New alliances were built. New civilizations emerged from the ashes of the Empire. Humanity had become a major power, not because of its military strength, but because of its diplomatic skill. They had helped the conquered species rebuild. They had mediated disputes. They had provided technology and resources. They had become the heart of a new galactic order. Commander Thraxac was released from his cell and allowed to return to his people. The Vornak species had been reduced to a single system, their military stripped, their political power gone, but they were still alive, still breathing, still hopping. Thraxac traveled to Earth to meet with Ambassador Wallace. He wanted to see the world that had destroyed his empire. He wanted to meet the humans who had defeated him. He wanted to understand what made them different. Wallace greeted him at the spaceport. "Commander Thraxac, welcome to Earth. I'm glad you came." Thraxac nodded. "I wanted to see what you've built. I wanted to see what you've become." Wallace smiled. "We've become something new, something different, something better. At least that's what we're trying to do." Thraxac looked around the spaceport. Humans were everywhere, going about their lives, laughing and talking and working. They seemed happy, content, peaceful. "This is not what I expected," Thraxac said. "I expected a war machine, a fortress planet, a species prepared to destroy everything around them." Wallace shook his head. "That's not what we are, that's what we become when we're threatened, when we're attacked, when we're pushed to the edge, but it's not who we are. Who we are is what you see around you, creators, builders, explorers, people who want to make the galaxy a better place." Thraxac looked at the humans around him. They were laughing, they were smiling, they were living, and for some reason that made him angry. "You destroyed my empire," he said. "You killed my warriors. You reduced my species to a footnote in history, and now you want to be friends. You want me to forgive you. You want me to forget what you did." Wallace shook his head. "No, I want you to understand. I want you to see that what we did was necessary. Not because we wanted to destroy you, because you gave us no choice. You attacked us. You threatened us. You demanded our surrender. We defended ourselves. We survived. And in the process, we changed the galaxy forever." Thraxac was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "You were right, back on my world. You said that I could change. You said that I could become something better. I didn't believe you then. I don't know if I believe you now, but I want to believe. I want to be better. I want to help build something new, something that could be better than what we had before." Wallace smiled. "Then let's get started." The two of them walked through the spaceport together, human and Vornak, former enemies and future allies. The galaxy was still changing, still growing, still evolving. But for the first time in history there was hope, real hope, not the hope of victory, the hope of peace. The Vornak alliance was born 5 years after the war. It was not the same empire. It was something new, something different, something better. Commander Thraxac became its leader, helping to guide his species through the transition from conquerors to builders. They rebuilt their worlds. They reconnected with their conquered species. They created something that had never existed before, a society that valued cooperation over domination. Humanity watched from a distance. They had helped build the alliance. They had supported it. They had encouraged it, but they had not joined it. They remained independent, a separate power in a galaxy of new alliances and changing relationships. Ambassador Wallace retired from public life and returned to Earth. He lived in a small house by the ocean, watching the waves and thinking about the future. He had done his part. He had helped change the galaxy. Now it was time for the next generation to take over. Commander Reyes visited him one afternoon. "Ambassador Wallace, it's good to see you again." Wallace smiled. "Commander Reyes, I thought you'd retired too." Reyes nodded. "I did, but I wanted to see you. I wanted to talk to you about the future." "What about the future?" "I think we need to be careful," Reyes said. "The Alliance is strong. The galaxy is peaceful, but there are other threats, other powers, other species that might try to take advantage of the chaos." Wallace nodded. "I know, but I think we've learned something. I think we've learned that we can't fight forever. We can't win every battle. We can't destroy every enemy. Sometimes we have to build, we have to create, we have to find a better way." Reyes looked at Wallace for a long moment. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I think we've found a better way. I think we've found a way to survive without destroying everything around us, and I think it's going to work." Wallace smiled. "I think so too." They stood together looking out at the ocean. The waves were calm, the sky was clear, the future was uncertain, but they had hope, and for a species that had survived extinction 6 times, that was enough. 20 years after the war, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Vornak Alliance was a thriving civilization. The conquered species were free and prosperous. Humanity was at peace. Commander Thraxek, now an old Vornak by his species standards, visited Earth one final time. He wanted to see how it had changed. He wanted to see what it had become. He walked through the cities and saw humans living their lives. They were happy, content, peaceful. They had built something new, something different, something better. Ambassador Wallace was dead now. He had lived a long and full life, but his legacy lived on, in the alliance, in the peace, in the hope that had replaced the fear. Thraxek visited his grave. It was a simple marker, a stone with Wallace's name and dates. No grand monument, no elaborate memorial, just a place to remember. "You were right," Thraxek said to the grave. "You told me that hope was necessary. You told me that without hope species die. You told me that we could build something better. I didn't believe you then. I don't know if I believe you now, but I know that you were right. You showed me that hope is what makes us strong, not power, not fear, not control, hope." Thraxek turned away from the grave and walked back toward his ship. He had one more mission, one more task, one more chance to make a difference. He had to tell his people. He had to tell them that hope was possible, that peace was possible, that a better world was possible. He boarded his ship and left Earth. Behind him, the planet rotated slowly against the black tapestry of space, a blue-green world, a world of survivors, a world of hope. The galaxy had been changed forever, and humanity had changed it, not with weapons, not with force, not with fear, with the simple refusal to accept defeat, with the determination to survive, with the hope that something better was possible. And that hope had spread, through the Alliance, through the galaxy, through the hearts of all the species who had been enslaved and freed. Humanity had done it. They had defeated the Empire. They had built a new order. They had created a better world. But they had also learned something. They had learned that peace was fragile, that hope was hard, that trust was earned. And they had learned to protect what they had built, not with weapons, not with force, not with fear, with the same determination that had saved them 6 times before, the determination to survive, the determination to thrive, the determination to build something better. The galaxy was at peace, but humanity was watching. They were always watching, ready to protect what they had built, ready to defend what they had created, ready to do whatever it took to survive. Because that's what they did, that's what they had always done. And that's what they would always do. The end was not the end, it was just a new beginning, a new chapter, a new story, the story of a species that refused to die, that refused to lose, that refused to give up. Humanity had survived extinction 6 times. They would survive again, and again, and again, because that was their nature, their purpose, their destiny. To survive, to thrive, to build. And to hope.